MMA reporter Ariel Helwani has issued a final warning to Brendan Schaub and his associates, again insisting that they leave his name out of their mouths. In last week's installment of the MMA Hour, Ariel Helwani spoke at length about the gripes he has with Joe Rogan and former UFC heavyweight Brendan Schaub. Helwani accused Rogan and Schaub of spreading misinformation about his temporary UFC ban in 2016, and then singled Schaub out for claims that Helwani was a nightmare to work with at ESPN. Helwani claims that Schaub sent him a text apologizing for spreading this rumor, but he rejected the apology until Schaub could issue it publicly. As Helwani put it, since Schaub spread the rumor publicly, he should then apologize in the same manner and on the same platform. On Tuesday's installment of the Fighter and the Kid podcast, Schaub and co-host Bryan Callen addressed the Helwani situation at length. After Callen broached the subject, Schaub immediately admitted that he made a mistake, though he was vague on what exactly the mistake was. Schaub acknowledged that he sent Helwani an apology, but the apology seemed to be regarding a joke made during a comedy routine, where he likened journalists like Helwani to weathermen. Schaub did not elaborate on what was the meaning behind this metaphor, but both he and Callen agreed on one thing: Helwani's sensitivity. Ariel Helwani viewed the clip of Schaub and Callen discussing him, and suffice it to say, he was unsatisfied with the apology. This is in large part because he didn't understand most of what it was even referring to. Helwani made sure to fire back on the notion that he is sensitive, a claim that he believes to be unsubstantiated. He had the following to say: "Of course I knew he wasn't going to come back and be as sincere as he was in this text on camera. He can't do that. And the funniest thing about this whole thing is that I'm watching this segment. He doesn't even bring it up. His boy Brian brings it up, who continued to say, 'Ariel's so sensitive, Ariel's so sensitive, Ariel's so sensitive.' Newsflash for Brian, who I've never met before other than the time he's been on this podcast. What makes you think I'm so sensitive? Is it because I'm annoyed that for the past 5-6 years, you guys keep saying these lies about me and I've never even responded once? I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about, but I know you like to talk about me a lot. You like to talk about my career, my comings and goings behind the scenes, who likes me, who doesn't like me, who wants to work with me, who doesn't want to work with me. It's a weird thing to say you don't care. Different lanes, but yet you're always talking about me. That's strange. And yet, I never talk about you. So who's the sensitive one? Who's the one that's actually bothered by all this? It's not jealousy, right? That can't be. We're in different lanes. I mean, one pathetic segment that was. Sitting back there and listening to that like, really? This is what we waited a week for? You could have sent out a tweet and saved us a hell of a lot of time. Just do me a favor. Leave my name out of your mouth. Leave my family's name out of your mouth. Don't talk about them. Don't throw your minions under the bus when they talk about them. Just let's go our separate ways now, alright? I have never had a negative thing to say about you, your show, your experiences, all of that. I've never said a thing when everyone piled on you about your comedy and all that stuff. Never said a thing. And now you want to talk about my career? And then when you get called out, say, oh, he was just a byproduct. Get out of here with that nonsense. Stop talking about me. Last warning, done. Last night on the latest episode of the Believe You Me podcast, Michael Bisping reacted to Arianny Celeste firing back at Khabib Nurmagomedov over his ring girl comments. He had the following to say. Khabib came out a few weeks ago, and he said he didn't like the ring girls and said that they were kind of pointless and all the rest of it because of his religion, you know? He has some strong views on stuff like that. We discussed it on the podcast, and I didn't know this, but some MMA websites must have posted articles about it or whatnot. Because on Saturday, I was commentating at a UFC Fight Night 191, and when I went to the bathroom, Arianny came up to me and said, oh, thanks for having our backs with the Khabib thing when you told him to leave us alone. I think that was before she clapped back at Khabib on Instagram. When she did post, she may have gone a little bit over the top, but a fair play. She's allowed to defend herself. I see her point. She's allowed to clap back. There was a time when Jon Blachowicz dreamed about nothing more than fighting Jon Jones with the UFC light heavyweight title on the line. Now that he's established as the UFC's reigning king at 205 pounds, with Jones out of action for the past 19 months, Blachowicz and the light heavyweight division have officially moved on without him. As Blachowicz prepares to embark on his second consecutive title defense just weeks after his one-year anniversary as UFC champion, he's no longer concerning himself with Jones or the shadow he once cast over the light heavyweight division. I think Jon Jones, this conversation is over, Blachowicz told MMA Fighting when asked about Jones ahead of his return at UFC 267 on October 30th. It's not making sense to talk about him anymore. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't fight anymore. Anywhere at heavyweight or light heavyweight. I don't think so. I don't know what he'll do. I forgot about him. You remind me about Jon Jones right now. Of course, Blachowicz isn't the only person wondering whether or not Jones will return to the cage anytime soon. If ever again. as his contract disputes with the UFC were never satisfied. After Jones dropped the 205-pound belt with the intention of moving up to heavyweight, he continued to stay at odds with the UFC over a new contract that essentially left him on the outside looking in where the title was concerned. While reigning heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou has said numerous times that he would love to welcome Jones to the division, he's currently preparing for a showdown against interim title holder Ciryl Gane. Add to that, former heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic has been clamoring for a third fight against Ngannou after they split 2 previous meetings, which means Jones could get stuck behind both of them where the title is concerned. Germaine de Randamie is out of her women's bantamweight clash with Irene Aldana. Aldana will have to wait for her next opportunity for a title eliminator bout, after de Randamie was forced to withdraw due to an injury, sources confirmed to ESPN Deportes. This is the second time that their bout was cancelled after de Randamie underwent surgery on her left hand in March, which prevented her from fighting against Aldana as they were originally scheduled to fight in June. This time, de Randamie and Aldana were set to feature on the undercard of the UFC 268 card at Madison Square Garden in New York, headlined by UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman vs. Colby Covington II. Coming off a big submission win against Juliana Pena back in October, de Randamie will be eager to get another crack at the bantamweight title. Currently ranked as the #1 bantamweight contender, another win for the former Dutch kickboxer will firmly place her as the next in line for a shot at the title.